Today I fucked up by temporarily breaking up with my Dutch girlfriend after declaring my love. This happened about 7 years ago. I am South African and was dating a Dutch girl at the time. For those of you who don't know my home language, Afrikaans and Dutch are pretty similar. Linguistically speaking, we have about a 70% overlap in vocabulary, words. However, the meaning of the same word in both languages sometimes means something totally different. I was dating this girl for around 9 months. She flew down to South Africa, and I took her to one of our national parks on one of the weekends. On the last evening of her visit, we were sitting next to a large open lake. As I looked at her, a sudden rush of emotions occurred. Took her hands in mine, looked her in the eyes, and said, in English, "I love you." This was the first time I've said that. For a moment I thought I caught her off guard, but she looks at me with a straight face and says in Dutch, "Ik hou van je," which in Afrikaans means I like you. I felt this strong pain hit my chest as we had already talked about moving in together, etc. This hit me so hard that I couldn't look at her. Still needing to keep face, I said I think we should go back to the hotel. Over the course of the next few hours I became ever increasingly distant. She wanted to initiate sexy time, but I kept rejecting her attempts, saying that I am not in the mood. The next morning we checked out and we drove to the airport. Upon arrival, I dropped her off departure's gate and thanked her for a lovely time. Told her that things have become clearer to me over the course of the evening, and that I don't think we should see each other anymore. She, of course, burst into tears, took her bags, and left my car. We didn't text for 2 days. On the third day she sends me a text asking why I broke up with her. I explained that it hit me really hard that I declared my love for her and my feelings weren't reciprocated. Perplexed, she phones me. And the mature asshole that I am, I rejected the call. She sends me a voice note saying she doesn't understand. As when I said I loved her, she said it back. Long story short, apparently the word how, i.e., like in Afrikaans, means love in Dutch. Man, did I fuck up. In the end we could laugh about it, and decided never to speak in Dutch again. We only lasted another 8 months after this incident, though for other reasons. Too long didn't read. I declared my love for my Dutch girlfriend, and she responded in Dutch with "I like you." I broke up with her the next day, and was only later informed that the word like in Afrikaans means love in Dutch. Edit 1, for some context, there were other, more serious, issues that occurred, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. One was that she was actually in a relationship with someone else and I was the side guy, as she didn't think I would leave my job and life in SA to move to NL. Edit 2, what happened afterwards? Some people asked. Well, I moved to the Netherlands for her and she then moved in with me. She didn't work, and well, let's just say she really liked Africans, had a lot of spare time while I was at work, and apparently one African wasn't enough to satisfy her. Well, it's good that you didn't get with a Flemish girl, because there's some even more indirect ways to declare love, like, "Ik zie you graag, I like to see you." Well, that is indeed a fuck up. Why would you end shit over that? And why would you think someone who merely likes you flies to a different continent to initiate sexy time with you? A good relationship requires communication, to include clarification, especially when you're emotional. Would just taken a second to fix that miscommunication, lol. Edit, since Op did, cheating is flat out fucking wrong, and knowingly being a side piece is every bit as bad. Trust takes an incredible amount of time to cultivate between two people and almost no time to ruin. Starting out with a cheater means they're already untrustworthy. If you think that you're going to transition from side piece to main piece after waiting around long enough, you're a sociopath and helping to ruin another person's life. There's always going to be another side piece. Resembles a story I heard some guy telling on the radio some years ago. This Dutch guy was dating a Belgian girl. So both officially speak Dutch, but Belgian is actually Flemish. Let's call it a dialect, although it's not. Guy keeps saying "Ik hou van je," translates to "I love you." Girl keeps replying "Ik zie you ook graag," literal translation "I enjoy looking at you." There was some confusion at the start of their relation. I expect there was some confusion around the verb poetpen too. In Flemish it means to fuck, in Dutch it means to shit. Regarding your edits. If they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. A lesson I learned the hard way. Today I fucked up by starting at the sun over 12 minutes. As usual, this didn't happen today. This happened over 20 years ago and only recently am I noticing the impact. Don't stare at the sun, kids. When I was around 11 I was fascinated by science. I still am. In particular I loved astronomy and the sun is a pretty cool object. I had heard that Galileo had gone blind by looking at the sun through a telescope, so you should never look at the sun. My intellectually curious mind noticed that when the sun is high in the sky, around noon, it is nearly impossible to look at without squinting or closing your ones. It's very bright and the rays emanating from it prevent you from clearly seeing its edges as a circle. However, in the morning as the sun raises and soon after you can clearly see the sun is a circle and it doesn't appear brightly. It seems you can look at it without any issues. As an 11-year-old, I decided I was going to stare at the sun after it rose for as long as I could and see what happens, you know. For science. I did just that. I stared at the sun after sun rays while waiting at the bus stop for school. It didn't seem to be impacting my eyes at all. I tried to avoid blinking as much as possible, but of course I blink a bit. I wound up looking at the sun for approximately 12 minutes. When I looked away there was a clear grey/black circle in the middle of my vision where the sun had once been. What's more, the colors of things seemed to move around as my eyes looked around. The sky had a reddish color and the concrete around me went from room to blue. It was almost like there was a filter differentiating where the sky had been and a different filter where the ground had been superimposed on my vision. Those two filters and the black circle where the sun had been were fixed in my field of vision, and the color of everything I looked at was distorted by those filters. I can only describe it as what I imagine a drug trip to be like. Everything was funky colors because of the way their original colors were impacted by the filters in my vision. It's similar to the negative photo-optical illusion. As an adult, I have come to the conclusion that what I was seeing was the negative after image of the colors of the sky and ground that I looked at when I looked at the sun. This after image followed me around all day. What scared me is these filters, after image, and this black circle remained strongly in my vision past lunch. Then over the course of the afternoon the filters and black circle gradually began to fade and the world returned to its normal colors by the time I got home. If I looked at something fast enough or darted my eyes I could still see the dark circle. Over the years I forgot about this experiment and recently went to an eye doctor a couple of years ago because my vision has gotten blurry over the years. They took a picture of my retina and pointed out that my macula, I believe that's the word, the point where light focuses on the retina, appears to have had high amounts of light exposure for someone my age. They noted it down and said if it gets worse there could be problems. I thought immediately to that long forgotten experiment where I stared down the sun and it won. In the last year or so I've noticed more and more the black spot where the sun once was. I will quickly dart my eyes and see it for a second. The brain and the eye are amazing in that brain will hide or fill in any gaps in the vision with information around the gap, similar to your blind spot. Try this out to see what I mean. I've also noticed that in editing sentences I will miss a mistake. I assume because it was filled in by my brain making the sentence look correct. If I look at what I have written sideways out of the corner of my eye I catch mistakes easier. My personal belief is that my brain is filling in these missing details where the gap in my vision is. Where the black circle where sun was would be if my brain wasn't filling it in. It's interesting how one stupid experiment as a kid can come back and reveal the stupidity of it years later. Always wear sunglasses, never look directly at the sun even if it seems like you can, you are doing damage to your eyes. Edit, yes. I blame the spelling errors on the blind spot. I read through the post 3x before I posted it, even the title, and there were many more issues before I posted it. None of them were intentional as some may believe. I will leave the spelling issues as an example of how the blind spot affects me. Besides seeing the black spot every once in a while, my atrociously written emails at work are the main day-to-day issue from my experiment. Edit, don't blame the parents. They told me not to look at the sun. Or blame them, they encouraged my scientific curiosity. Edit, many of you have asked about my eye prescription. I'm nearsighted treated with astigmatism. Right eye, odd, minus 2.50 minus 0.50 by 107.0. Left eye, OS, minus 3.000.00 by 0. I don't have floaters or visual snow. I may have a mild form of night blindness. As the post implies, I have a small sun-sized blind spot in the middle of my vision. Edit, I intended on this to be a throwaway account so people that know me didn't know my stupidity, but the karma has far exceeded my normal account. Edit, for people that are wondering, I love science and do work in a STEM field. TL, doctor, I started at the sun for 12 minutes 20 years ago. Now I'm discovering the effects of that day. I'm not blind but have a small sun-sized blind spot in the middle of my vision that my brain has filled in. I don't notice it unless I move my eyes quickly. Don't look at the sun, kids. No matter how much it seems you can look at it without an issue. Always wear eye protection. The sun is damaging your eyes even if you don't notice it or feel it. I'm suddenly afraid of all the times I glanced at the sun growing up. Don't be. Quick glance won't do much. Think of it like old photos that need a dark/red room. Brief exposure to natural light won't actually do any harm to them, but leaving the light on for a while will ruin them. Obviously never glancing up at it is the best, but minimal exposure several times shouldn't cause any real issues. Staring for 12 minutes at the brightest light source for Earth is asking to go blind. Me and my brother had a sun staring competition with each other when we were little. I think about it a lot and always hope that nothing too bad happened. Narrator, it did. Solar retinopathy, ouch. That's permanent and will forever be a mark in your macula. The brain is pretty good at working around small damage in the retina and blocking out very small blind spots, but once it's pointed out to you it'll be hard to unsee it. I can't work out if the last part of your sentence is paradoxical or ironic. When I was a kid, I thought it would be a great idea to keep my eyes open while flashing one of those removable camera flashes. All I could see was purple. No shapes. Nothing but purple. As if I were the dog in the everything is fine meme. I then decided to just take a nap. I woke up sometime later and everything was back to normal. Aside from my wife, this is the only other time I have ever spoken of this idiocy. Take care of your eyes, people. Not an expert, but I wonder if you killed that bit of your retina on experiment day, and the recovery was your brain learning a processing trick to ignore the hole in your vision and to change how you point your eyes such that the object of interest is outside of the small circle of retina damage. My personal theory is I believe this is what happened. The recovery was a trick of the brain. Today I fucked up a blowjob. Today I fucked up by trying to give a blowjob to my boyfriend. I really don't mind giving blowjobs. I'd given him a few before and I figured this one would be just like those. I have a habit of gagging a little bit because he is quite large in size, girth and length, but most of the time I can just power through. So tonight I was hanging out with him and watching movies, but I needed to head home later on. We had gotten on the topic of sex and just chatting about things we like or want to learn and just random stuff, but that convo made us both kind of horny. I didn't want to fully have sex though because I didn't want to be driving home sore, so I told him I'd be willing to give him a blowjob instead cause we both enjoy it. We headed downstairs and he stripped down and I started doing my thing. I am pretty great at what I do and he was moaning away and I loved hearing it, so I started trying to go fast and deeper to make him louder. I wanted to see how much I could make him react. I was doing alright with just a few random small cough type gagging here and there, but then out of nowhere I just straight up hurled on his dick. I wasn't expecting it and didn't even realize that's what I had done for a second because it was all a clear liquid with just a bit of random spots of stuff in it. I thought it was just thick as spit until the smell smell of stomach acid hit me. He looked down and saw what had happened and just started laughing like a lunatic. His laughing caused me to start laughing, and so we both just sat there for a few minutes laughing hysterically at the sight of his penis covered in clear slimy French fry chunks. Finally I got up and grabbed a towel to clean us both up, and we started talking about what had just happened. He was so close to finishing before I had stopped, so he still wanted to try and finish up himself, but I didn't want him to just have to jerk off the rest of the way, so I stripped down myself and he went to town. But right as he finally came, I just had to add to my sexiness that night and fart right as he was orgasming. Needless to say, I'm the best at being super sexy, lol. Luckily we both laughed our asses off at both circumstances, but I still was mortified by my own disgustingness. I don't think I'll ever live tonight down. TL doctor, I puked on my man's dick while giving head, and to make up for it tried just having regular sex and then farted on him when he came. I'm terrible at being sexy.